This is the LBC Morning News with Lisa Aziz.
And right now it's 10 to 7. The French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo is marking the first anniversary of the attacks on its Paris offices with a special edition which is published today. The front cover shows a bearded man representing God with a Kalashnikov rifle and a headline saying 1 year later, the assassin is still on the run. On January the 7th last year, 2 Islamist militants burst into the offices and opened fire, killing 12 people. In the 3 days following, 17 people in total were killed, ending in a siege at a kosher supermarket and a raid on a printing facility on the outskirts of the French capital. But is the magazine marking the atrocities in the right way? Joining me now, Davie is a political cartoonist, along with Abdullah al Andalusi, who is co-founder of the Muslim Debate Initiative. Good to have you both with me this morning. Davie, then let me come to you firstly. I appreciate we're on the radio, but our listeners can see that front cover on our LBC website. If you, though, Andy, were the editor of Charlie Hebdo, would you have produced a cover like that?
Well, I mean, as a political cartoonist, I don't choose to deliberately provoke like that, but I admire what Charlie Hebdo cartoonists have done over the years, which is to provoke all religions, the power brokers of all religions. I mean, generally the point of political cartoons is to attack power, not to attack ordinary people for their religious beliefs. That would be wrong, but they don't, because they don't hold power, but to attack people who hold power, and I think this image is a metaphor. It doesn't mean God is carrying a gun. Because these drawn images are very powerful, and this is a non-denominational God, and as depicted, it's presumably meant to represent religion generally. And the point is that religious disharmony is still causing death. Now, many people will willfully misunderstand that and say Charlie Hebdo is saying God carries a gun. How sacrilegious. But to depict God as a metaphor for bloody violence, seems quite a reasonable position to take, since huge numbers of people have been slaughtered by angry men in his name over centuries.
Abdullah, let's come to you then. Andy, thank you for that. I'll come back to you. Abdullah, though, is this fine for you, or do you think the idea of free speech is getting very mixed up, perhaps, with one of taste and appropriateness when it comes to marking such a dreadful massacre?
Well, first of all, I think in France, there really is not really free speech in a very consistent sense, especially to people who tread on the taboos that France doesn't like treaded on. So, for example, the work of the preacher Yusuf Qaradawi, the permitted and the forbidden in Islam, was banned in 1995 by the French government because, I quote, it endangered public order through its clear anti-Western tone. So you had the works of theological preacher Ahmed Didat also banned in France. And these were not inciting to violence at all. These were just theological opinions which France deemed to be offensive. So France has never really kind of held up this belief of free speech. It's really about whose taboos is it anyway. And France's taboos are always protected. So obviously you can't insult the French flag, you can't insult the French anthem. According to the 1881 press laws, you can't insult the French president. But there are other things that you can insult, especially when it involves ideas which are not secular and ideas which are religious in nature, especially of minorities as well. So I think there's the question of taste, but also a question of Charlie Hebdo, for example, depicted a picture of of a dead Syrian child washed up on the beach when the pictures of Ayman Kurdi came out, and people found them very distasteful too. So I think that just because they have a legal right in France to portray those images doesn't mean that they should not exercise prudence or good taste in the matter.
Abdullah al Andalusi, good to have you with us this morning, co-founder there of the Muslim Debate Initiative, also Davie, a political cartoonist. Thank you very much indeed.